There are three options to transition to gray. One of them is the easiest one, and that is cold turkey. You basically do nothing. You stop dyeing your hair and you allow your gray hair to come in and your colored hair to grow out. That is the most popular method to transition to gray hair, and while that is the most popular, it does have its challenges. So I'm going to share some tips with you in just a moment on how you can get through that cold turkey stage, and also what to expect during that stage. So as I said, the first step is either do nothing, go cold turkey, stop dyeing your hair, and let it grow out. Your second option, to some, can be considered very drastic. You can cut your hair. You can let your hair grow to a comfortable length, and then you can chop it. You could chop off the colored ends. There are some people who transition for a year or two and then they chop. There are some who chop right from the beginning, and that is up to you and how comfortable you feel about having short hair. Again, even with this particular choice that you choose, there are some challenges, but I have some tips for you to help you to get through that stage as well. And then we have our third option to transition to gray hair, and that is you can color your hair. You can go gray overnight, literally, but it's not really overnight, because to get your hair to the color gray takes a lot of steps. I recently was watching a YouTuber, a hairdresser on YouTube, who was mentioning how to get your hair, which is a dark color, especially if it's black, all the way to gray is like 10 shades away. So imagine how much removal of color that is going to take. And that's not something that's necessarily going to take overnight. There's a famous stylist, Jack Martin, who did Jane Fonda's hair and became very popular on Instagram for the transformations that he's done on women, getting them to gray overnight. But basically there was a couple of sessions that he would do where he would continue to lift their color with a couple of sessions. So they would come in on different occasions and get their hair actually, it depends on the person's schedule, because it can be a whole day thing. And if you're used to getting your hair braided or getting weaves and how long that takes, it's similar to that process to be able to lift up the hair. You can do this yourself, but I would not suggest it. I would suggest, for getting your hair that light, to leave it in a professional's hands, and not just any professional, someone who knows how to get your hair to that color without completely obliterating your hair. Because when you think about it, what nature already does with our hair fading gradually, or the loss of melanin and we get a gray hair or a white hair, they're doing that in a forced way to your hair. And a bonus tip, if you don't want to go through that permanent hair color route, or the time that is invested in that, or the money, because think about that, if you want to go to a professional, get it done right, you're gonna spend some money on that. You can also try temporary colors like hair waxes, and that's actually something that I've done with synthetic hair pieces that I love, but they're not in the color gray, and I want to add some gray highlights to them. There are some hair gels and hair waxes on the market that you can purchase so that you can put on your colored hair and see how your hair would look all gray. The caveat with that, I'm going to tell you some of the limitations of that method and also some tips to go with that. So for us to recap, the three ways that you can transition to your gray hair is grow it out, do nothing, stop dyeing your hair. You can cut your hair, cut off all the colored ends, or you could get your colored ends lifted to a gray color. Now, something I want you to know when you're starting your gray hair journey, it's a pitfall many of us can make, but I want to remind you, the right way to go gray is the way that works for you. Don't let anybody tell you that the best way is to cut it. The best way is to grow it out. No, the best way is the way that works for you. So there is no one way besides the way that works for you. You can do it differently. There are also some people who say, okay, I'll try option one and I'll let my hair grow out. And then they decide, nope, I'm going to cut it. or nope, I'm gonna go to a professional and get it lifted to gray. So again, remember that the choice for how you want to gray is in your hands. You don't have to feel limited. There are options for you. Now let's go into some of the pitfalls that you may encounter with each of these different choices and some tips that I have for that. The very first one is growing out your hair. The hardest part of the grow out method is how long it takes. And the first couple of weeks of grow out, when it doesn't look intentional yet and you're dealing with, those like couple of inch of roots, the ones that you were so quick to color before, now you are intentionally growing out. Depending on how long your hair is, it can take a year, 2 years, maybe even 3 years to fully grow out that hair color. And sometimes that can be really, really tough. So some suggestions that I have and tips to get you through that stage: pictures. Document, document, document. It's been said before that sometimes if you're just sitting watching a kettle boil, it's not going to go by any faster. So by taking a picture the first day that you do it, then maybe, each week or weekly, you'll be able to look back and see that progress is happening more than you think. Documenting is really good to help with the patience aspect of this stage. Another thing that you can do, especially the first couple of months to deal with those roots, is headbands. Headbands are your best friend to be able to cover those roots. Also, if it's appropriate where you work or, for your lifestyle, head wraps are another amazing option to help you to work through those first couple of months of dealing with the roots. My hair was already very short, so it wasn't really easy for me to do headbands at that time. I actually wear more headbands now than I did when I was transitioning, and it's okay. Please don't shame yourself if you find it very difficult to deal with the first couple of months of the grow in. Along with coloring your hair permanently, you don't have to color all of your hair gray. You can do highlights. You can just color the hairline gray and leave the rest of it to do its natural thing. Again, if you go to a professional or someone who knows how to do this, they will be able to give you some different options so that you can gray as comfortably as possible. Another thing that you can do to help you through the grow out process, especially if you're gray and natural, is you can use braids. You can use twists like I'm wearing right now, although this is a wig, a passion twist wig. It actually is not my own hair. This is where headbands are also amazing to cover. It's like a headband wig, my own headband wig that I made. Then we have the second option, as we mentioned, which is cutting your hair. And even with that, dealing with your hair very short can be like a new thing to deal with in its own challenge. But similar to that, if you can wear extensions, you can wear braids, you can wear wigs. Another thing that, if you still have some of your L'Oreal spray, root spray, you can spray your roots in the beginning to help you get through the first couple of weeks until it looks a little bit more intentional. Another thing that can be a struggle, as I said, dyeing your hair permanently gray, is dealing with the stress that puts on your hair cuticles when you lift your hair that much. So I would think trying things like Olaplex, things to build up your hair. You have to be very, very diligent about how you take care of your hair since you lift it, that much, so that those colored ends don't break off from all of the things that they went through. And you might need to give your ends much more special attention than you even have to do for your gray hair that's growing in naturally. Another thing with the temporary color, it can be a hassle to, every time you wash your hair, reapply it again. And if your hair is very long, that could also be a hassle. A benefit of cutting your hair short, if your hair is already short and you want to see what it looks like, you can easily add the temporary dyes to your short hair. With these different temporary colors that I've used from Mafajang and from Gemini Naturals. Gemini Naturals is more of a gel-based temporary color, and it's a richer, deep color. The Mafajung is more of a wax. It's heavier, it's thicker. Both of them wash out very well from your hair. You have to wait till your hair is completely dry and you don't have as much transfer as when it is wet. And sometimes it is better to use these color waxes and gels on hair that already has product on it as opposed to naked hair or freshly washed hair. I've learned that. I've applied them to hair that my hair already has gel or product in it, and so it just kind of is like literally what makeup is. You know, you put a primer, you put concealer, and then you put the foundation on top. That's kind of like what the wax and the gel is like when you put the color on there. There's no one way that works for everyone besides the way that works for them. So don't feel like you're boxed into one particular way to do it. And I want you to know that I am offering one-to-one Zoom consultations. If you need someone to hold your hand through this to help you to figure out why your hair is changing so much, what are some things that you can do in your routine to be able to better take care of your gray hair? Maybe you have already transitioned and you just need some more guidance as to how to take better care of your gray hair because you notice that it is different than when your hair was colored. Or maybe you're transitioning from relaxed gray hair to natural gray hair and you would like some guidance and support through that. Please email me at nina@naturallygraceful.com. I am here to help. We can get together and help you to be able to get through this transition gracefully. I thank you so much for watching and I hope you found value from it. I look forward to connecting with you soon. Thanks so much for stopping by.